Morocco's Atlantic Access Deal, a game changer for Sahel nations. They are three of the largest countries in West Africa, vast, in many places desolate, struggling with conflict, migration, climate change, and geopolitical pressure. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, landlocked, isolated, and yet now, in Rabat, Morocco, they have done something no one expected. They have signed on to an initiative by Morocco that could change their geography not physically, but geopolitically forever, and possibly give them access to the Atlantic Ocean. Is this the beginning of a new era for these nations? Could this be more than just a strategic alliance? What does this port access mean for trade, for power, for foreign influence, and how will the world respond? Landlocked struggles. Being landlocked is more than a geographic quirk. For many African states, it is an obstacle to growth, trade, security. No shoreline means no ports. No ports means dependence on neighbors, infrastructure, fees, political stability. For Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, these are not abstract problems, they are daily realities. Trade costs. Every ton of goods must traverse overland costly, slow, vulnerable. If the border with a coastal country becomes unstable, trade grinds to a halt. Security problems. With porous borders, insufficient infrastructure, and limited direct sea contact, smuggling, human trafficking, and insurgent movement become harder to manage. Climate and migration. Droughts push people to move. People want more opportunity, more access. Ports are gateways not just for goods, but for ideas, jobs, economic hope. Historically, many landlocked West African countries have tried to mitigate this by forming strong regional blocs, by investing heavily in roads, rail, their relations with coastal neighbors, but the challenge never fully goes away. ECOWAS, alliances, and breaks. Enter the political turbulence. The economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, has long been the chief regional integration body. It promised not only trade cooperation, but political unity, security frameworks, and shared prosperity. But in recent years, three of its members, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, have undergone military coups, significant political change, and growing mistrust of the ECOWAS political order. They formally announced they were leaving ECOWAS. They formed their own security institution, the Alliance of Sahel States. What this means: a break from certain regional obligations and oversight, a realignment of foreign policy. These countries have severed or downgraded long-standing military ties with former colonial powers, especially France and the U.S. They have turned increasingly toward Russia for military cooperation. The Wagner Group, for example, has been cited in stories about contracts, training, presence. This represents an ideological and strategic shift, an attempt to assert more autonomy, control, in the face of perceived external interference. Going along with this trajectory, when Morocco offered them a multilateral initiative to get them access to the Atlantic, they saw more than just economic promise, they saw geopolitical balance, new partnerships, new leverage. The initiative in Rabat, the Moroccan Ministry of Foreign Affairs made a public announcement that the foreign ministers of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger met with King Mohammed VI in Rabat. And in that meeting, the three landlocked nations endorsed Morocco's initiative to give them access to the Atlantic Ocean. The details are still emerging, but what is clear is that this is an official, formal endorsement, not just speculation or reports. Morocco positions itself as the portal, the host, perhaps even the facilitator of new shared infrastructure, access rights, routes, logistics hubs. The endorsement suggests the three states believe strongly enough in this idea to make it public. Let us unpack why this is such a big deal. Why access to the Atlantic changes everything. 1. Economic potential. If Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger get reliable routes to an Atlantic port, or port facilities via Morocco, then their exports, minerals, agriculture, Raw materials can reach broader markets more cheaply. Import costs go down. Landlocked importers typically pay more due to trucking. Transit fees, delays, new industries become viable. Processing, manufacturing that depends on imports/exports. 2. Strategic independence and leverage. They no longer would be entirely dependent on immediate neighbors or regional corridors that could be blocked, contested, or politically leveraged. For example, a land route through Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, or Senegal could occasionally be disrupted due to instability. Disputes, infrastructure, Atlantic access via Morocco might offer a redundant, alternative path, possibly more secure, possibly more under their influence. Morocco becomes a new strategic partner not only in trade, but in security. Diplomacy. 3. Political and diplomatic implications. By endorsing Morocco's initiative, these three nations are signaling several things: a shift away from Western, former colonial, spheres of influence toward non-traditional partners, potentially more cooperation with Morocco, not just in infrastructure, but in political alignment, shared positions in international fora. A message: we can control our destiny. We can bubble up new alliances. The challenges, of course, nothing is simple. Logistics and infrastructure. Morocco is far to the north and west of these three nations. Routes will have to cross multiple countries or traverse long stretches. Who builds roads? Rails? Who finances them? Who controls them? Transit fees, sovereignty, border issues. Even with formal agreements, there's always risk of border delays, corruption, bureaucratic bottlenecks. The landlocked countries need guarantees. Illegal, financial, infrastructural, geopolitical pushback. Neighboring coastal states might feel threatened if much of the transit traffic of these three landlocked states starts going via Morocco. They could lose revenue or influence. Security. The Sahel region is volatile. Conflict, insurgency, banditry. Any overland corridor must be secured. Agreements will need mutual cooperation from many states. Where there's security vacuum, routes can be blocked or unsafe. Economic viability. Trade volumes have to be high enough to justify the investment. Ports must have capacity. Customs agreements must be effective. What's at stake for all players? For Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, a chance to reimagine their geography, not literally, but strategically. A pathway that gives them more bargaining power, economic growth, better trade balances, more local jobs, maybe more stability if the corridors are secure, if trade revenues increase, if people see improved access. For Morocco, Morocco has long sought a central role in West Africa. This could deepen its influence. Trade linkages, diplomatic reach, being the entry point to the Atlantic for these landlocked Sahel states strengthens Morocco's strategic position. Potential infrastructural, logistical, real estate, port revenue benefits. For other regional actors, coastal West African countries may feel challenged. Some might adapt, perhaps partner with Morocco, perhaps try to compete. International powers, EU, US, China, Russia, anyone or more, may try to influence or invest in the corridors. Global trade norms. This could set precedent. What this could look like in practice. Here are possible scenarios of how this Atlantic Access Initiative might be implemented over the coming years. 1. Transit agreements. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger sign bilateral or trilateral treaties with Morocco and with any intervening countries, guaranteeing transit rights, lanes, customs, security. 2. Infrastructure projects. Roads and or rail lines running through Mauritania or across other states. Possibly a new corridor built or upgraded to link to Atlantic ports like Casablanca, Tangier, or other Moroccan ports. Warehousing, custom zones, free trade zones to speed goods. 3. Port access. Preferential access, lower port fees, priority docking. for goods from these three nations. O. Possibly joint venture terminals focused on Sahel exports. 4. Security partnerships. O. Morocco might increase cooperation with these countries. Military/security apparatus, helping protect corridors. Anti-smuggling, anti-terror efforts. O. Intelligence sharing, joint patrols, maybe infrastructure like checkpoints. 5. Economic zones. O. Customs-free zones to process goods before export. O. Incentives for value, added manufacturing for goods from Sahel to be shipped out via Morocco. 6. Political/diplomatic alignment. O. Coordinated votes at international bodies around trade, maritime law, etc. O. Partnerships in climate, migration, development with Morocco acting as bridge to Atlantic world, Europe, Americas, wider implications, migration and humanitarian issues. Sahel instability has driven waves of migration toward Mediterranean routes. Easier Atlantic access might shift migration patterns. Faster trade and improved local economies might reduce push factors. Environmental and climate. Being landlocked makes climate recovery harder transporting goods for agriculture. Accessing fertilizers. Exporting climate-friendly products is more costly. Improved access could help climate adaptation. Regional security dynamics. If Morocco plays a bigger role in regional security through these corridors, there is potential for new alliances or rivalries. Countries that once dominated influence, France, etc., may find their roles changing or being resisted. Global powers, Russia, already engaged militarily with these states, may see Morocco's involvement as a competitor or potential partner. China has vested interest in infrastructure investments. EU and US, they may find opportunities to invest, or they may see this realignment as a challenge. Risks and what to watch. If promises are not matched by infrastructure investment, the initiative could become window dressing. Delays due to political instability. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger all have fragile regimes, with coups, militant insurgencies. If governments change again, agreements might be reneged. Dependence on Morocco. If Morocco becomes a gatekeeper, these states might trade one dependency on neighbors or former colonial powers for another. Environmental concerns. New corridors can damage ecosystems. Need assessment. Community and local displacement. Building infrastructure may require land. Disrupt communities. Must be managed. The narrative of transformation. But if it works, really works, this could be one of the defining stories of 21st century Africa. A transformation from isolation to connectivity. A shift from donor dependency toward self-determined trade partnerships. A model of regional cooperation that doesn't rely only on old blocks, but on new geographic, strategic realignments. Please like and subscribe to help this channel continue providing true, unaltered content like this. Imagine this: a freight train loaded with cotton from Burkina Faso crossing into Morocco, being processed, then shipped from Moroccan Atlantic port to Europe, or agricultural goods from Niger heading out via Casablanca. The spin-off benefits: jobs along the rail line, new industries in border towns, customs jobs, warehousing, logistics hubs. Imagine, too, that this becomes a symbol. Landlocked no more, not geographically, but diplomatically, economically, strategically, and that this becomes a beacon for other landlocked countries elsewhere. South Sudan, countries in Central Asia, etc. How do we connect them more meaningfully to coasts? Global trade routes. What comes next? We are at a tipping point. The endorsement in Rabat marks a decision, but the journey ahead is long. What will matter is concrete follow-through, treaties, infrastructure, funding, security to protect corridors, transparent, well-managed cooperation so that the benefits are real and widespread. Negotiation. With Morocco, with neighboring countries, with international partners. This could be a moment of rebirth for Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, a chance to redefine their place in Africa and the world. It could also become a story of lost promises if momentum wanes. What do you think? Will access to the Atlantic be the key to unlocking the future of the Sahel? Or will old obstacles, politics, terrain, security get in the way? The stage is set. The players have chosen their partners. The rest is yet to be written.